Begin transmission. Hello, everybody on the internet and listening on the sound waves. We are Outer Rim Transmission, back for episode 172 of our weekly Star Wars podcast. And there's a lot of little news stories. We have video game news, we have comic book news, we have convention previews, all on tonight's episode of Outer Rim Transmission. So I got the full gang with me here again once tonight, joined by Milton and joined by Ben. Sorry, Ben, I know we were just talking right off the air, but I know your sports team is not doing so well, although the other one is. So that's kind of good. At least one of them's doing well.
Yeah, pretty much for me. My football teams aren't doing great lately, but at least the baseball team is. So the Guardians are moving on tomorrow night against the Yankees, so I'm excited about that. And that was about the best, most positive part of my sports weekend this weekend, but yeah, overall it was a good weekend other than the sports stuff, and just kind of had a normal fall weekend, working out, watching shows, those sorts of things.
Yeah, I was giving you guys a warning because I know both your teams played today. I was like, all right, we can't have any bad sportsmanship on this channel tonight, but we'll try to keep it civil. How's it going, Milton? Milton, I think you are muted. Yeah, no worries. While you have that figured out.
All right, can you hear me now?
There we go. We got you. We got you on.
There we go. Sorry about that, fellas. You don't have to worry about any bad sportsmanship. Both our teams aren't very good. A win's a win.
Everything bad Milton wants to say, he can say it because it's true about my team. So,
I mean, look, it is what it is, man. Like it really, a win's a win at this point, and I'll take what we can take. So big dub, fly Eagles fly, but we'll probably get wrecked by New York next week. That's what we do. But no, I'm glad to be back on the podcast, ready to talk some Star Wars tonight.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of our week in Star Wars on my mind because I have about 3 things. I have enough for each of us here, just myself included. All right, so the first thing first. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Disney Plus has this new live television essentially thing on the app where they have different categories of the kids stuff and sports and documentaries, and then they have this heroes and villains or whatever it's called, and 90% of the time I feel like it's showing something Marvel, whether it be like Moon Knight or whether it be WandaVision or Agatha All Along, or in the case of eating dinner right before this podcast, I was watching an episode of X-Men 97, and it was the episode that somebody dies, and I was like, oh great, this is the kind of energy I have to go into the show with. I had to watch that scene over again. But I finally got a chance to see a Star Wars show on that thing. I was having breakfast, I think it was Friday morning, and Obi-Wan episode 4 was on. So it was kind of cool because it's like, oh, this is like that Sunday morning Star Wars channel vibes. But I mean, with Obi-Wan, I could definitely see how that show has aged in 2 years already. Like, I'm not looking through it from the lens of, oh my gosh, this is so hype, we're getting an Obi-Wan show, it's amazing, blah blah blah. Years later, separate, I'm like, yeah, this could have used more of a budget because it's a lot of these very bleak hallways, and they're just like, oh, this is not the most detailed kind of environments that we're used to seeing in other things. So that was my first one there. It's just, I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to use that feature at all on Disney Plus or anything like that.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, no, me either. I haven't. My streaming mainly lately has been HBO and Netflix. Those are my only two, just because I'm watching The Penguin and Outer Banks. But other than that, I haven't clicked on Disney in quite some time.
Yeah, I always wanted to have something like this because it's so simple to be like, oh, I'll just put anything on. Like, let me just go through the list. But what I find myself is I'm cruising through the list, and it's like choice paralysis. Like, if I'm gonna do miniatures or something in the background, I'll turn it off for noise, and it's like I end up spending 5 minutes sometimes just trying to put background music on. Essentially, is what I'm doing. So at least with this feature, it's like, oh, if they're doing it for me, I don't have to make a choice. Let's just click on this thing. I just wish, like I said off the top, it feels like it's majority Marvel stuff. Why can't they just have a separate Marvel one? They have, God knows, they have a bunch of Star Wars stuff they can run 24/7 for years and years and years. Just separate them out. That's all I'm asking for. I don't even know if people are using this feature. Who knows how long they're going to keep it up on there. But, that's my word of advice if anybody's listening out there.
Yeah, I would love personally if they would do that for gosh, it's cool Disney has it, but I would love for them to do it, with HBO because that's where like there's so many of like our old cartoons from like the 90s like Dragon Ball and Billy and Mandy, like all these different like 90s era classic Cartoon Network Toonami cartoons. Like I would love for it for HBO, but like Disney I guess I don't know, my thing is with Disney I feel like I just I don't know. For me, when it comes to finding like just something to throw on in the background for Star Wars, I always just go to the Mandalorian season 1 and just scroll randomly and click. Like that's pretty much my background thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You can't go wrong with Mando as background noise. I'll tell you, I've done that quite a few times.
Yep.
All right, moving on to my second my week in Star Wars, and that has to do with one of the clients I train. And sometimes, I forget like how young some people are or whatever, because I'm talking to this guy. We're talking about Star Wars games. He's 15, by the way, and we get on a topic of Battlefront. And I don't know how we ended up on this topic. I'm stretching the guy out, doing different kind of stretches, recovery, whatnot, and I start going on about Battlefront 2, and I was like, yeah, I have such fond memories of this game. Blah 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 blah. And he's like, yeah, me too. I remember playing it at my cousin's house or something. He's talking about the 2017 Battlefront because at that time the kid was like 7 or 6 years old. And I'm like, oh, I told the guy, I told the kid, I said, I feel old now. I'm talking about the one that came out before you were born, essentially. So
That's
it was
funny.
like, oh my gosh, it's like the blast from the past. Like, there's actually somebody has something good to say about Battlefront 2 2017. The kid's like, I actually really love that game. And I'm like, here I'm thinking it's the original Battlefront 2. And it's just, damn, I'm getting old, I guess.
Oh yeah, you'll get those mix-ups here and there, but yeah, I mean that game, had its issues and stuff, but after the fact, it was a fun game and stuff, and it was fun and enjoyable. I feel like after they got past all the microtransaction issues with it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were talking about. Actually, that's where it spawned on. We were talking about open world games and microtransactions, and I was telling him about all that stuff that happened with the game, and I guess he didn't even know about it because he played it after the fact. But yeah, it's too bad it could have still been going on now theoretically if they if they didn't have that fiasco in the beginning. I could see people playing it like crazy up until now with Mando content, with Skeleton Crew content coming out soon, with Obi-Wan content, like everything, right? So yeah, that was just a fun little reminder of the different generations of Star Wars fans, if you will. And one more thing, and it just happened last night. A buddy of mine had a surprise 30th birthday party, and we were invited to go to a Guardians of the Galaxy themed one, no less. So I didn't have a Guardians costume, but I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to get my Luke Skywalker costume with the yellow jacket and like the striped pants because I'm like, that's Star-Lord enough. It's got the leather jacket, but it's just maybe it's a variant. So there was it was my friend's mother who was dressed up as Gamora, and I got to commend her. I was like, holy crap, she went above and beyond his mother dressing up with the green paint and everything. She looked great. And then another one of the guys who I got chatting with was like the Fat Thor version, but it was just great because it's just like, oh, you got the Crocs, he's got the robe, he has literally got the dad bod. This guy for it, I was like, wow, this is pretty spot on. Actually, the beard, everything. So it's just three of us basically in costume. But anyway, at one point, somebody walked up, one of his family members, my friend's family members, was like, are you like a variant of Star-Lord? And I was like, I guess I could be. I guess when I pulled it off well enough to act like I'm part of Guardians of the Galaxy. And then I had to explain to him, of course, where exactly this costume was, where it was like in 2 minutes of all of Star Wars. But, that's just the fun of, okay, I got a closet full of costumes from Comic-Con over the years. Let me just throw something together and see what works. But, there's a Guardians and Star Wars. There's a big crossover there.
Yeah, hey, I mean that's awesome. I'm sure that was a good time. It sounded like you were having a good time this weekend with all of that. So it's glad to hear that, and it's cool just seeing like people come up with creative costumes that like fit, like their means and what they look like and everything.
Exactly. That's why I was telling the guy his name is Lee. It was like, dude, it's cool because like everybody's represented. You don't have to have like a 6-pack of abs and like be ripped out of your mind to be able to costume somebody. You know what I mean? It's pretty sick. Like everything is out there for somebody to be part of. So, and we'll be getting into more of that later on in today's episode because I'm going to give you guys a preview of what is happening at New York Comic Con 2024, or as my good buddy co-host, the Tractor Beam calls it, Matthew calls it Coruscant Comic Con, because basically in that area it's like Coruscant. So we're going to get into all that and more. Unless you guys have anything to say about any of your weeks, I think I took up enough time for all three of us on this one.
No, I mean, I guess for mine, just real briefly, while I was watching Outer Banks, for anybody who's seen it before, basically it's like these like late teens, early 20s, pretty much it's like treasure hunting and a little bit of drama and stuff. Anyways, like just watching through the first 5 episodes of the 4th season of it, it just got me honestly more excited for Skeleton Crew, just because like, Skeleton Crew's like kids, it's like more of like a younger audience. So, it just kind of like got me in the mood to see Skeleton Crew, just because it's like, it's kind of like that, that show is led by, like I said, young, like late teens, early 20s. And so it's nice just like kind of getting into that groove of like, okay, I'm liking this show, so at least it'll like maybe pick up a little momentum for me leading into Skeleton Crew when that show comes out, just because, it's kind of in that same vein of a series and, like younger people going on an adventure. So that was kind of like my week in Star Wars, just like getting a little more excited for that show.
Yeah, I seen you watching that show. When you mentioned earlier, I was actually going to ask you on air, like, what is that even about? Is it like Jersey Shore with country kids? What is this thing?
So, okay, so basically you have kid, late, probably like 18 to 20-year-olds in the Outer Banks area in the Carolinas, and pretty much the main character, his dad was like used to be a big treasure hunter, and then his dad disappeared, and then the kid and his friends, like, they get into treasure hunting, and then, you're dealing with drama. Of course, you have, like, the evil treasure hunters, like, the bad people and stuff that are in the show as well. So, like, they're trying to, like, kill them or take them out to, like, get it. And, there's drama, and, it's just like a good, easy show to watch, really. And it's entertaining. And Netflix usually releases, like, 10 episodes every year or every couple of years. Like, they're on their 4th season now, and it's I don't know, it's just like an entertaining treasure hunting show. Like this season is about hunting for Blackbeard's treasure, so it's been pretty good so far.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So getting amped up for Skeleton Crew, which I really feel like that one's going to sneak up on us real quick, right? We're already in the middle of October here, another month and a half or so, and we're going to be in the midst of reviewing those episodes weekly, so there you go. See if any tie-in material gets announced at New York Comic Con later this week or later next week, whatever. But yeah, other than that, I want to just welcome everybody into the chat. We got Skywalker's Academy, we got Aaron Daly. It's always good for everybody to show up live when we do go live. And we're available on all podcast streaming services of your choice, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, and whatever else you listen to your podcast. Just search Outer Rim Transmission. Getting into this week releases, we had a lot of releases this week, so bear with me here a second. We had I think it's from the vantage point of Captain Rex. We have the next in the Secrets series. It's like a kind of like a source book sort of thing, lore. It's called Secrets of the Clone Troopers. Now, I've read the one that's about the Wookiees. There's one about the Jedi, the Sith, the Bounty Hunters. Haven't picked this one up yet, but yeah, if you are a fan of the different regiments, the different legions of clones, and everything from commandos, I've seen a couple pages people posted on Twitter and whatnot. So that's available now. We also had 5 comics. Thanks to Dark Horse for putting out 3 comics on the same day. You guys couldn't space it out just a little bit, but we had issue number 4 of Ahsoka, which doesn't really count. Great job by the creative team, but it's literally the same thing that you watch. So unless you really want these for covers or collectible sakes, you probably don't need to pick that one up. But you also have Ewoks number 1, which was a lot of fun. You have Saber for Hire issue number 4, which had issues because I didn't even get my copy because something happened with the Diamond Penguin random distributor in New Jersey or something like that. So who knows if I'll get my hands on that one. I might have to actually hunt at New York Comic Con next week, the various booths with comics to try to find that one. But we also had Echoes of Fear issue number 2, and a new one started this week, Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone number 1. Now, me and Matthew broke down, I think it was 2 or 3 of those. Yeah, we just talked about 2 of them because we don't waste our time talking about Ahsoka. And yeah, I didn't get Saber for Hire 4 and Echoes of Fear. He hasn't finished reading Tears of the Nameless, which spoils issue number 2 of this series. That's the problem with High Republic, because if you are not exactly caught up sometimes on the latest thing, there's a chance you might get spoiled for like somebody's fate that's like living after the fact or some other event or something like that. So as fun as it is, if you are really like hardcore about that and you don't want to be spoiled, like you're probably better off looking up like a Wikipedia like chronological order, because there is some stuff that it's better to go into not knowing. And if you just pull up the first page of this issue 2, just talks immediately about like the aftermath of that book. And I'm like, I told my buddy, I was like, dude, you want to hold off reading this for until you're done the book. So he appreciated that. So we'll get that reviewed over on the Tractor Beam very, very soon. But yeah, there we go. That's like I said, that was a mouthful. So if you have some spare cash floating around, there's some things you could spend your money on this week, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to get new things to read.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we have a brand new Star Wars comic that just got announced this week, and that is Star Wars, the Star Wars Legacy number 1. Wait, Star Wars A New Legacy number 1. Excuse me. And what this is, at first I kind of like jumped for joy because I was like, oh my gosh, are they going like post Rise of Skywalker with like a new Star Wars Legacy series? No, don't go that far, guys. This is just a celebration one shot of celebrating the 10 years that Marvel has basically restarted their licensing with Star Wars or whatever. So you got all these comic characters. It's a celebration. Like, you're going to get a story by Charles Soule. You're going to get a story by Kieran Gillen. You're going to get a story by who is it? John Cassidy, who are like some of the architects of Star Wars comics the first couple of years. So it's pretty cool. Like, you could check out the cover. It's got all the original Marvel comic created characters like Byler Valance, like Dr. Aphra, Black Chrysanthemum, the droid, Son of Staros. It's even got Darth Momin on there, so Lord Momin. So you got a bunch of cool. You gotta have 3 short stories in this one. It looks like a fun time. I mean, this is not going to be an ongoing. All these stories are looking like they're in the original trilogy era. So good celebration. It is good to see them acknowledging that. And I think, I hope rather that we get an announcement of the official ongoing new series that's going to happen after the Battle of Jakku finishes up, because that 12-issue maxi series will eventually end, I think, in February or late January, and then that leaves the door wide open for, okay, what's the next big ongoing comic? We're going to get that answer hopefully at New York Comic Con, I would hope, but you never know. It could just be a random blog post from StarWars.com, kind of similar to this thing's announcement. So I know you guys don't read like the current comics, but I don't know. I think this is pretty cool, right? It's just a nice gesture to the fans. Like, okay, these are the comic characters that were created just for Marvel, and we're gonna celebrate them with like the 10-year anniversary. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good idea. Like, it's nice to kind of culminate that anniversary of it, and I don't mind those types of creative projects just because it's. I don't know. I feel like it's a nice touch as a fan to get that sort of thing. Because, you always like to see, in a different realm, I guess I would say, kind of harkens to me like to our Master Chief collection, Chris. Like, where it's like, hey, we're like celebrating all the Halo games up to that point or whatever. Like, it's kind of like something like that, where it's like everybody's, you're kind of celebrating that 10 years of Marvel Star Wars comics. So I always enjoy those types of projects.
By the way, I don't know if you heard the news. Real quick tangent. Did you see like the big stuff that's happening with Halo?
Nope.
They renamed the studio. They rebranded from 343 Industries to Halo Studios now.
Oh,
And
dang.
they announced there's multiple Halo games in development. They're doubling down on the franchise and they're going to be using a brand new game engine, Unreal Engine 5.
Ooh.
For the first
I
time, Halo has never gone on another engine. It was on the Slipspace engine, and that was slowing the game's development down because they had this a proprietary engine where they were slowing down the progress. But now bringing UE5 engine, they're going to be able to get a lot more people to work on the game. Stuff is going to be made a lot faster because people actually know how to use that engine. They could hire just any game dev from around the world, and they usually have experience with Unreal Engine 5. But yeah, that's the big news out of Halo. So quick
I like
sidebar.
that. I've not heard that, but hey, nice Halo update this week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to it. But getting into this next one, I know that Milton will definitely appreciate this one. We got the Celebration Japan badge art revealed. Did you get a chance to look at this, Milton? This artwork here?
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't know. I think
I
it looks
looked at
awesome.
Yeah, give me. I'll pull it up right now again. But no, look. Anytime I get any type of art like that, like I'm going to appreciate it. It's not even a question. Like it's gorgeous.
Yeah, the idea that they're bringing in the Japanese kind of culture influence of Star Wars, like we've seen these kind of figures for a while. I think from like Kotobukiya, I think is the toy brand that
Right.
has been making these samurai-esque
So
Star Wars characters.
yeah. So and it's funny just because yesterday, I mean if my girl would comment on this YouTube video that we're watching or she'll probably text me even mentioning herself right now. Literally yesterday we were up in Gettysburg, doing like a little date, and we stopped by this art gallery, and because she knows I'm a big art head, I like stuff like that, and I said to the guy who had these paintings or these canvases, I'm like, hey, do you have anything like samurai, uh, Roman like art type thing? Because I love that type of era. And literally,
Mm,
like when you sent this, I'm like, oh, this would be dope to
yeah.
have this type of stuff like on a canvas and framed like in my office or somewhere in my house.
Oh yeah. I
So
mean,
I love and like I love all the artwork. I mean, it's gorgeous.
yeah. Looking at just for people that are listening, listening here, we got ones for Vader. It looks just straight up like a dark samurai, like an evil
Right. Oh, yeah.
samurai with the
And that's
helmet.
and that's and that's what I took away from it because we all know that George Lucas is very. It's been on the record. He took a lot of Kurosawa's, ideas of samurais and infused them with the Jedi. Like the Sith and the Jedi was very much religion. Like look at the samurai way of life. It's a culture. It's religion. How Jedi's move and how they communicate is very much samurai like. And it's like to see this type of artwork from a Japanese company studio. I'm like, that's full circle to me.
Oh yeah, Ben, what's your thoughts on these?
Yeah, I'm looking at them. I think they look really good, and that's the like anytime I've seen the iterations of like Vader like looking like that, I don't know. I just feel like that is Star Wars, like getting like the influence from
Exactly.
like Lucas, like you know what I'm saying, Milton. It's like hard to describe, but like uh, you know what I mean. Like it's just like you see those old concept arts. I know you've seen them before, like with all your
Yeah.
stuff you've seen before. You know what I'm trying to describe, Milton. Like it's like
Yes.
you know what I mean. It's like Star Wars. Like I
So
don't know
so
how to
so
describe it.
if you look at no. So here we go. Look at Ralph McQuarrie's artwork back in the '70s.
Yep.
There's concepts before it was out in live action. Look at the concepts he put on there in his artwork and compare it to what the studio created here. There's a lot of similarities.
Hmm.
Like this Darth Vader Japanese shot. There's a lot of similarities in Ralph McQuarrie's art concept when he put it on paper back in 1970 something. So again, I'm sure Lucas told him, "Hey, this Vader or this character has some Japanese influence in his look."
Hmm.
And looking at this, yes, we know who Darth Vader looks like now. They can clearly say, "Hey, that's the actual character." But this is what I would envision if Star Wars was in our world or had a significant Japanese
Mm.
take in like the 1800s or like the 1700s.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
go ahead.
exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah, you go like looking at the details. Like if you go on their Twitter account, I know the webpage I linked in our private chat is just shows close-ups. But if you go to the Star Wars Celebration Twitter or Facebook, or wherever you want to find, like they have the full art images for the badges themselves, and like dang,
Mhm.
like you look at the saber design. The sabers look like katanas with like flames for all of them, whether it be Ahsoka, Luke, Vader, with like the heat like rising off the blade. Even the hilts are elongated to look like a katana, right? Like just that simple type of thing right there is really cool.
Right.
And then
Yeah,
you,
I'll definitely
yeah,
have to go on Twitter and look at it via like on that page. But just to some of the shots I was able to see, you're right. It's look, I could look at this all day, and you give me 20 frames, I'd frame every picture if I could and put it somewhere in my life.
heck yeah, heck yeah. So there you go. I don't know which one is going to be which. Usually we have a 4-day badge, which I have. I know they have on Twitter. They added a reply to this post, and it has a really magnificent looking Yoda too that is floating in midair, tranquil with the Force, and it's right with a moon right behind his head. Oh man, it looks freaking amazing. So I don't know which is going to be which day's badge. It's remember it's a 3-day convention. So we'll have and a lot of and what you could do with celebration too. After celebration's over, I think it's usually through the website most likely, but you can end up buying all the badges just to have as like a collectible. Even if you didn't go, I guess you could just buy the badges just to have them after the event, and then you could blow them up, I guess, or whatever, and somebody could probably make them into a full-fledged poster, which would be sick. Yes. So getting
I'm actually
into, oh,
looking at
go
this
ahead, go ahead.
again. What I'm looking at this again, I honestly, I ain't gonna lie, like that Ahsoka picture, legit.
Yeah, what I
Like,
really like,
give me that Ahsoka. It's over.
and it's cool because they have like the kineticism. It's kinetic. Like all
Yeah,
these characters are moving because you could see the environment within with them there with like the leaves falling. Like it's perfect samurai film.
yeah,
Like all the leaves falling slowly as it's like focused on
Yep.
the character, and it's like yeah, this is so good. This is probably the
yeah. I
best
mean,
badge art I've ever seen for Celebration. Easily.
yeah, easily. No, it's not even a question. Like, it's like this reminds me of Star Wars Vision season one, like
Yeah.
with the samurai. Like, this is what I envisioned it. What they used for the concept of that episode, and it's like, okay, this makes sense. Like, this looks like we saw this in an animation at some point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So getting to a really cool surprise that happened, and that's the title of this episode. We are getting a remaster for Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles. We got a cool little trailer. Everything looks very cleaned up. And now the game is finally playable on the modern systems because up until now, like if you go on Steam, you couldn't even download the game. You'd have to literally, and I know Milton, you could probably do this, pull out your PlayStation 1 and play it on that if anybody even has one anymore. I actually still have one. Actually, I could do this myself at the moment if I really wanted to.
Right?
But
Yeah, I don't have
yeah.
a PlayStation One. I'm sure I can go find one somewhere and play this game eventually.
So I was at PAX East, which takes place in Boston. It's the big video game convention on East Coast every year. And yeah, I was able to play this game. I think I showed you guys a video of me playing the game at like 11 o'clock at night on like a Friday night or something at this freaking video game convention.
Mhm.
And I was being nostalgic as all hell because I remember this. I remember when the Jedi get these power ups and their lightsabers can extend to like 10 feet long and it just starts slashing people. And watching this trailer, it really hit me because it's like ingrained in my brain some of these levels of what you were doing, like going on these different speeder stat bikes, blowing things up. And I remember back in the day, this was the better game than the actual episode 1 game. This was so
Like
much
the one for
fun.
PlayStation One.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This game was far better
Yes.
from what I
Oh yeah,
remember.
this is way better. Yeah, yeah, way more superior.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like that game. I mean, when I sent the news to one of my friends who always listens to this podcast, he was excited because, back in the day, we always played all the main Star Wars games like Shadows or Pod Racer or Battlefront. But this was always in our rotation, like in our friend group. We would always be like, grinding this game and stuff and playing it a lot because it just, like you guys said, it's a really good game and it's awesome to see them bringing it back. And like, I love seeing, like one of my, like my friend said, it's like, it's nice to see them bringing back stuff people really like. Like, sure, it's cool getting all these new games and things like Outlaws and Jedi and whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's cool seeing them bring back stuff and like put it on modern consoles where people have access to it forever now versus, oh, hey, I got to hunt down a PS1 to be able to even play this. It's nice getting them available.
Oh yeah, and looking at this, so first of all, it is developed by Aspyr. I have a love-hate relationship with this company because I mean, ever since they put out that Battlefront collection, I'm scarred from life. I think because of this company, because they put the game out and there was a lot of bugs, and they couldn't even put in a simple invert controller function, which I find just baffling in the year of 2024. But besides that, they ended up putting out Bounty Hunter, and they kind of redeemed themselves for me for the most part. I was mad at the time with the game because one of the levels is just a pain in the butt, and it just seemed difficult for no reason. So I guess that's how it was originally in the game. So I can't really fault them too much for like a level's design itself. But so I'm willing to give this another try. If you look on the StarWars.com article, there are really cool different things that they added to the game. For instance, you can have a whole bunch of unlocked characters from the start: Darth Maul, Queen Amidala, Captain Panaka. I think I remember playing as him, which is interesting because he's a gunslinger. Same thing with Queen Amidala. Like, this is a lightsaber game, but you're getting these characters that use blasters, and a battle droid from the beginning. They also have included new characters such as a Tusken Raider, a Rodian, and many more. So Aspyr is known to basically phone these games in a lot of times. Like, they're just like copy paste into a new engine, boom, okay, it's ready to play. But at least they went into the code. I find that interesting that they were able to go into the code itself and actually add things this time. Now, we're not going to get like a remake. Like, this is not going to be Resident Evil 4 remake where they're building the game from the ground up, but they're certainly making it much more appealing to the eye, playing it on 4K televisions and, high-powered rigs and different things like that. So I don't know if you guys remember this, though, because when this game first came out, I believe that Mace Windu, Plo Koon had different lightsabers, and then when they appeared in Attack of the Clones, it was like, oh wait, those are the canon ones. We didn't know what we were doing with the video game, because apparently Plo Koon had a yellow lightsaber, and I think Mace had maybe a blue one or a green one or something. It had to either be blue or green because that's all they ever used, or something.
I think it was blue, if I remember right. I think, but yeah, like they did, because I had a Plo Koon action figure back then that had a yellow lightsaber. So they must have had, that yellow lightsaber had to have come from somewhere, because it was before Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, there is a blurb real quick before I forget. This game is using the original Sega Dreamcast source code with significant gameplay enhancements. For Jedi Power Battles players, that means smoother jumps and better balance while keeping the nostalgic feel of the game. Okay, this is exactly what I thought it would be. But there is an option, Ben, that you could turn on the screen accurate sabers. I guess there is an option you can go in and make Mace have the purple lightsaber and whatnot, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that is really neat, actually.
Oh, and get this. There's actually cheat codes in the game. It's a 2024 game with cheat codes, so you can get big head mode and big foot mode. Okay, that's just odd. I don't know why that could be a selling point. I've never heard of a big foot mode in literally any game I've ever played. So that is just absolutely bizarre. Like, this is the 90s for you, man. I maybe this game came out in 2000, but like, this is the early 2000s for you. Like, they had just these crazy gimmick things in these games.
See, the thing is, nowadays though, those things would be $20 DLCs per thing, probably. Honestly,
Facts.
I mean, Like that's one thing I miss about a lot of these old games. You know, here we go. Time to go. Old people talking nostalgia of video games for a moment. But like, you know, that's one thing I really do miss. Like all the cheat code things, like all of that stuff nowadays, they would be $10, $20 per thing on like the Xbox store or something, or in like a store in game. Like, you know, over all the years, Chris, like us playing Halo, all the stuff with the skulls when you would go through and hunt and stuff, that would probably be like a weird $25 DLC add-on or something, or or something or another nowadays. Like just the way games are, like I don't know. It's just I miss when the games were able to be put out stock and not like having a lot of extra microtransactions added into them.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is a blast from the past. It's a blast from the past. There's a couple other things in this article I want to point out. So, this game will be able to be played solo, or you can actually have a second player in a game. So you could, there's the main campaign you could play through. There's apparently 7 training rooms to practice in. And there's a versus mode where 2 characters can battle it out. That would be cool. We got to get on there and just start versing each other. That could be interesting. I didn't even know the original game even had that option.
Yep. That's what me and my friends did. We always played, like, we always just would have, like, Jedi Power Battle tournaments on that, on that thing.
Shoot. Oh, by the way, I would be remiss to say this game is actually coming out on January 23rd, 2025. So that marks it as the first official Star Wars game for next year. And that was something I was thinking about for a little bit of time, because by this time we already knew that there was a game coming out the following year for like the AAA Outlaws game. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a chance that there could be a big AAA Star Wars game in 2025, but right now we have absolutely no idea what it could be. There's a lot of other games, in development right now. So it's just maybe they would have to announce it pretty soon if there was a big game coming out for next year. I would think maybe in December with the Game Awards, if they were gonna maybe make the initial announcement for whatever it is next there. But getting ahead of ourselves a little bit there. Milton, have you ever played Jedi Power Battles?
Yeah, I played it years ago. It's been legit like years. Probably I was, what I would have been in probably middle school when I last played it.
Yep.
Because I remember the PlayStation 1 Episode 1 game, and then obviously Obi-Wan from Xbox.
Yeah.
And I feel like these all came out around the same time now as I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I remember playing it. I enjoyed it very much. It kind of reminded me later, well, the Clone Wars game for Xbox reminded me of Power Battles a little bit when that came out a couple years later for Xbox. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just I'd have to sit down and actually play it again and try to remember some of the story pieces and all the extra stuff that went with it. But yeah, I really like the game.
Oh, and I respect right now. I'm looking on Steam. It's already 10% off. It's for a low price of $17.99. You can pre-order it right now.
Oh, then I'm probably gonna get it. I'll probably get it then. See, this is the thing though, and I've said this before. And y'all know my personal beef with the Star Wars games since Disney took over. They've been so inconsistent, except for a hit or there. Obviously, the Jedi Survivor series, bangers. Battlefront, we know what that was, and we know how the mobile games are. I love that we're going back to nostalgia. Now, it's easy for all of us to say, hey, give me the old school games. I'm all about it. I'm all about moving forward, adding new context to the story, or adding new content to the gaming genre. I respect that. However, not a lot of kids who, and when I say kids, 15, 14, 13-year-old kids who love Star Wars now never got to experience the games that we grew up with. These are one of these games where I think is a perfect thing to introduce this type of game to another audience who would probably appreciate it and say, oh my God, this is great. And you can blend in 2 different viewpoints on it. Our era of Star Wars fans and also the new era, the new fandom to say, oh my God, I'm going to go back and try to play Obi-Wan Xbox, or I'm going to try to go play, Clone Wars on Xbox, or I might play Super Star Wars on Super Nintendo. Like, I think this is a great idea that they bring these old games back for the current systems. how dope would that be? Like, if we had children that were, let's say, 10 years old, how dope would that would be to play with your kid this type of game and say, hey, this is what I grew up on. Let's try to do this together.
Oh man, my nephew. I'm probably gonna buy this game for Xbox now that I think about it. The good point you brought up because my nephew was over the other day, and I was like, all right, I guess we'll play a game. And I didn't have Game Pass at the time, so I was like, crap, I have like no games now because that's how Game Pass works. You don't subscribe, you don't play the games you had on there. But anyway, so we booted up Multiverses, which is like Super Smash Brothers with Warner Brothers characters. But having known if I had this game, because I'm looking at the Steam page, they have couch co-op in this game.
Yep.
Couch co-op is going to be awesome because I could pass my nephew the control and be like, hey, look, this is what your uncle played literally 25 years ago. You're gonna be Obi-Wan, I'll be Qui-Gon.
Like that's dope. And like I know, like, I believe Super Star Wars might be on the PlayStation Plus network or something.
Yeah, it is.
But like, how dope is that they would start reintroducing these old Star Wars games to a new audience, and how that would really advance the fandom and show more appreciation of the old stuff, but also moving forward the new type of Star Wars games that are coming eventually. I think this is the best way to keep your brand healthy. It grows it keeps the fandom more intact with what the product's all about, because some of those early Lucas Arts games were some bangers, bro. And I still play them, as you guys know.
Well, that's the thing, Milton, with me. Like, I really think, even though so many people, like in Star Wars fandom and other fandoms, really, they try to like dog on nostalgia, and like, I think it's the cool thing to complain about nostalgic stuff on social media, but then deep down, when the people are in the comfort of their own homes, they're like, oh, actually, wait, I like nostalgia stuff,
Yeah, exactly.
because like that's the thing, it's like, it's the cool thing to complain about it, and then when it comes to it, like, people enjoy this stuff. Like, that's why I think, especially like our generation's like 20s, 30s, like, it really does seem like a lot of people enjoy nostalgic things. Like, you see all these nostalgic pages on Instagram, like all, the 90s throwback pages or early 2000s throwback pages or whatever. And like, you see the engagement people have with that sort of content. And it's just because, like, even though it's cool to complain about nostalgic stuff, deep down, people really enjoy it. Like, you see those relatable things, and like, it's cool to see them. And like, for $15 or $17, whatever, like, hey, I'll pay $17 for like a blast from the past on my new console. I mean, I'm sure you will too, Milton. Like, if it'll come to, when it comes to PlayStation, hey, if it's like $17, like,
right,
like you can't beat that.
Exactly. And the reason why I stepped off screen is because, you mentioned nostalgia. I mean, I can show you 3 games I have for Nintendo 64 right now. One of them is
Oh yeah,
Pod Racer,
which they recently re-released not too long ago.
right?
I know, I need to buy that.
Oh, that game needs an
Squadron.
update. We need to get a new 4K res
Exactly.
Rogue Squadron.
Exactly. And we all know this needs to be re-released.
Oh hell yeah! Come on,
Rise of the Empire.
come on.
So like, yeah, and like, I mean, again, those are 3 bangers right there.
Yeah,
Imagine if Lucasfilm was like, hey, you know what? Let's go back and do a throwback year. Let's say an anniversary year. Of what in a couple years will be 2027. So that'd be what, 50 years of Star Wars celebration. Imagine this. I'm seeing it already. 50-year anniversary. That's half a century of Star Wars being around, 1977 till 2027. Imagine they did a full year of, let's celebrate the movies, the comics, the games, the books at like Star Wars Celebration 2027, and do like a full like video game, yearly nostalgia like release of like all the classic games, but like kind of remodel them. So let's say they started now over the next upcoming 3 years to redo them, to re-release them for PlayStation 5, Xbox One, whatever you can think of. How dope would that be to go back to say, oh my God, I can play Shadows of the Empire on my updated system with, let's say, the same story, but a little bit of extra features that we didn't know about. They just retold the story slightly. How dope would that be for the year to get all these games in like 1 year to play these bad boys on like our modern systems? That would be so dope. And Chris,
Yeah.
I saw how excited I saw how excited you were when I showed you these games. Like, imagine a whole universe of Star Wars fans be like, "Oh my god, I get to play these games on PlayStation 5 for a year and to celebrate this product for the 50th anniversary." That'd be dope.
Oh yeah, I would love that personally. Like I think
Yeah.
I think Star Wars gaming is like so essential to like the fandom and like for a lot of like us who grew up in that 90s 2000s era of like classic LucasArts gaming and even transitioning to like
Mhm.
Force Unleashed and Battlefront over the years and things
Yeah.
like I think like it's such a big staple to us with Star Wars gaming. And like for me, it's like I don't know. I really enjoy that stuff. Like I mean, heck, I even when it comes to old gaming, a while back I was playing like a Pokemon Yellow emulator on my phone, and it was like literally the classic game from Game Boy Color back in the day. And like
Yeah.
it's just fun sitting around playing some of those old nostalgic games here and there. And like I would love that type of thing for Star Wars. Like you said, that idea would be really cool, Milton. Like a year, like I don't know, they could name it like 50 years of Star Wars gaming or something. And it's just like they release all the
Exactly.
games and like boom, and we have this big celebration of Star Wars gaming.
I will legit pay for the package. I'm not kidding. If they said, okay, for the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, you can pay, let's say, $50 for
Yep.
the 50th anniversary, get all the old titles on PlayStation, whatever system you have, for like I'd pay for it because that'd be fire. Like you guys all would pay for it. You can't deny it.
Oh yeah. And still, I mean, I'd pre-order it as soon as it would be available.
Exactly. Exactly. Chris is laughing, but he knows Chris will buy it today. Let's be real here.
Chris would be, yeah, you'd
You're
be
muted.
placing. Oh yeah, you're muted.
You know me too well. You know me too well.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, Chris, you'd be pre-ordering it right now.
Like,
Oh,
imagine
man.
this. Okay, Chris, I'll ask you this: if you can pick, let's say 10 games that since Lucas Arts was around for till whatever, what 10 games would you want to be re-released on? Because you're an Xbox guy, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what 10 games would you want nostalgically to be re-released that you would play for the next year if you could?
Well, yeah,
Star
it'd be Shadows of the Empire, it'd be Rogue Squadron, Rogue Leader, Rogue Squadron, Rebel Strike. Then you would have the Obi-Wan game. Then you would have, because on Xbox they don't have any of the Super Star Wars games, so I'd have those three. That brings me to 8. I would have the Clone Wars game that I have fond memories of, and then
That's from Xbox.
yep. And that time I played it on GameCube. I'm like looking at the games that they don't have on Steam because they do actually have a good amount of games on Steam that I own right now.
Right.
Ah, gosh. One more, I guess it would be the Naboo game, Battle for Naboo game. That's the only thing that comes to mind. I'm probably missing something.
forgot about that
I
one.
wish I could name something better than that. But that's 10. That's 10 right
I
there.
forgot about the Naboo game. Yeah, I haven't played. I don't remember that one that well.
Oh, I remember that one very
The
well
Naboo.
because I came home from Toys R Us after my mom brought me there, and I remember this vividly. My dad goes, "Did you get him another Star Wars game?" He has enough of those already. I was like 8 or 9. I was like, little did he know how many more Star Wars games I would get over the years.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, here's the thing though too. Like and again, this isn't me just trying to make a big plug for like nostalgia or not like that. It's me actually trying to grow the fan base because I mean, honest to God, like you look at if you take a 15-year-old Star Wars fan right now, I guarantee you he or she has never played Super Star Wars in their life.
Yep.
Never. And I guarantee you that person would truly enjoy those games, would truly enjoy the challenge that those games gave you as a kid. Like they're still challenging, and I beat them
Oh, yeah.
multiple times. So imagine taking a 15-year-old Super Star Wars fan and say, "Hey, I'm going to play Super Star Wars. I know the movies, but let me see what it looked like in an 8-bit console or whatever it was back in the day for Super Nintendo." Like, and that soundtrack was fire for it too.
was.
So like,
It was really
let's
good.
go.
Well, guys, here's something to
Like,
think about with that. Like, Milton, think about this. If you tell a 15-year-old, hey, let's play Super Star Wars, you know what game they would think it would probably be? They would probably think it'd be a
What?
Super Smash Brothers Star Wars edition.
Mm. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and I'm gonna say, nah, I'm gonna show you what real gaming is all about. This is true gaming right here. Like before,
mhm.
now listen, I know all the cheat codes because obviously, like I played the game for years. But before we knew cheat codes existed, you had to legit beat that game that day. Like y'all remember how it was when you get a game for Super Nintendo or Sega
Yep.
or whatever. You couldn't really save your level,
Nope.
and you're like, you had to beat this one within the day. And like we've spent hours on it. My brothers and I used to like rotate shifts pretty much
Ah,
to beat games.
Yep.
Like you guys know.
the dark days of not having memory cards. Kids probably
Love
don't even
it.
know what
Love
memory
it.
cards
And then,
are. Oh my goodness.
On the
yeah,
64
yeah. And what's crazy
and
is like,
PS1.
yeah, like, and now when the internet became like a thing, obviously like more popular back in the late '90s, early or mid to 2000s. Like when you understood where cheat codes you can get them, I'm like, oh, this is dope. I
Yep.
can put in the cheat code to get to the level I ended at or whatever. But like you didn't know that then, and you had the books.
The books,
What were they
the
called?
Prima guides.
Yep.
Yes, the player guides. Again, we don't have those anymore. How freaking bro! I'm getting hyped
Go
now thinking about it.
go to the store and write them down, and then put the book
And then
back.
later on, there'd be
I have
there'd be game facts, game FAQs, whatever you want to pronounce
Yep.
it.
yes, I still have my I have the Force Unleashed 1 and 2 guides.
Wow, I didn't
And
know they were
those
still
games came
making them
out
at that point. That was in high school for me.
yeah, they can't I legit they're downstairs. I can go grab them right now. Like they are downstairs on my bookshelf.
Well,
Like
well,
I'm
yeah,
not
they were
getting rid of those.
still.
They're still around. That would have been like 2000 and what? 8
Well,
2009
Yeah,
ish.
something like that.
well, Milton,
Yeah.
they were still around then because. All right, so funny story about Force Unleashed. Here we go, turning this into a nostalgia gaming cast, but here we are. Um, but so funny story about the Force Unleashed. So before that game came out, this was probably like 3 months in advance, 4 months in advance. Um, that was still when Xbox had its monthly magazine subscription, and it was like $6 a
Mm.
month to get it. And what they would do is they would send you a demo of what would be coming out in like three
Oh
months from now,
yeah.
and
Forgot
the
about that.
and
Yeah.
me and my friend Alex, who's always listening to this podcast, me and him sat there like it was like whenever it was, because we were in like seventh or eighth grade, all we did was sit there and play. They just had the beginning of the first level where you're Vader on Kashyyyk just taking out Wookiees. They had that entire first level on the demo disc for Xbox that month, and we just sat there. We played that over and over so many times because we were just so like enamored with the physics of that game of like destroying the trees and like doing all those things with Vader at the beginning. And it's just like it's just such a different time now because like media like that doesn't really exist. So it's just it's cool getting to see some of that stuff and like just talk about
Right.
it and see it coming back in the form of like Jedi Power Battles or other
Yeah.
games.
Like that's fire. I love that. And again, just I know we started off with Jedi Power Battles and why that game's being re-released in 2025, which again, most likely I'll eventually play it. But the reason why I like talking about these types of things is because one, it reminds me of my childhood and how fun that
Mm-hmm.
was. Two, this is an opportunity to grow the brand some more. It's easy to forget the past. I mean, I guess as Kylo Ren would say, forget the past. Kill it if you must. I slightly disagree with that when it comes to the games and when it comes to the medium of Star Wars, whether it's past, future, or present. Like you should always embrace it. You should always use that as a tool to grow your fan base, to make sure it's continuously healthy, and to always look back on it to appreciate what was there before, so you can continue to grow it. I think that when we look back at these games, when we have these discussions like Jedi Power Battles, I mean, you had to start somewhere, and for them to re-release that game, that tells you something. That says that there's an audience for it and there's appreciation for it, and they want to grow their product to say, hey, go back and look at that stuff that was previously done. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of good storytelling. There's a lot of entertainment there too.
Yeah, so there you go. Everybody listening now or after the fact, what would be the next game you would like to see remastered from the classic Lucasfilm, LucasArts days? Let us know any way you can. And as I said off the top, we got New York Comic Con starting this upcoming Thursday. It goes on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 17th through the 20th. So I'm going to give everybody a quick rundown of the Star Wars specific things that are happening over the week. So Thursday, the 17th, we have a panel at 8 p.m. in room 1B02 called From Pages to Screen. And this is an hour-long panel. I'm billing this as a Star Wars panel because 3 out of the 5 authors talking about film adaptations are Star Wars authors, and that includes Steve Barnes, who's writing the upcoming release of Star Wars Mace Windu, The Glass Abyss novel. You also have John Jackson Miller, who did the Kenobi novel as well as The Living Force, and you have Delilah S. Dawson, who wrote the Phasma novel as well as the Black Spire Outpost novel. So that'll be really insightful. I think they did something like that last year, but it's like Star Wars, right? You're always doing tie-ins, so it'll be cool to see. Those are all really good authors to see how they tackle those big characters and how they do it in a way that adds to them and doesn't take away from them. On Friday, we have the Lucasfilm publishing Star Wars Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. This is in room 406.1. This is from 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. So this is like the flagship banner panel. This is what everybody's going to be lining up for. This is that panel where they're going to talk about what's coming next in the comics, what's coming next in the books, yada, yada, yada. We had something similar to this in San Diego, except they also had Star Wars Outlaws on showing there with some of the actors in that game at the time. So that's going to be one you won't want to miss. Friday, there's a Hasbro toy panel, and that has other toy lines, not just Star Wars, but quick little blurb about this one. Well, first off, this is in room 408, and it's from 5:15 to 6:15, again on Friday. In the years past, this was a really fun panel to go to for entertainment because you would have hardcore figure fans showing up at the Q&A, which is the end of the panel, and they would just start berating the poor people on the panel about like Star Wars and Hasbro. They would be asking like really meticulous questions like, why is this character in there? Why is this character not in there? Like really like funny stuff, to the point where Hasbro people, representatives, got so tired of having to answer these people every year that they just don't even do a Q&A anymore. Like they just shut the panel down and just walk away.
That's funny.
Yeah, it'd be funny. Like you go in there with your popcorn because like somebody's gonna say some stupid stuff at that panel.
That's hilarious, actually. Yeah. I'm excited to hear some news out of the con, just because I just need to get a message from you, Chris, saying big news. We're gonna get a Ray-Finn Poe trilogy post Rise. Like I just need that text.
Yeah. That's not all though, because this Saturday we have the Star Wars comics with Lucasfilm and Dark Horse Publishing. That's in room 406.2 from 1:45 to 2:45. So that's interesting because we already have a publishing panel the day before, but this one's going to dive, I guess, a little bit deeper into the Dark Horse comics. Currently, they're doing all the High Republic adventure stuff. So we'll see what else they have coming down the pipe for that. And if you are not able to get into that panel, or if you're more interested in doing the cosplay meetup, which unfortunately is literally running the same time, so you probably aren't going to see me there this year if you're looking for me, even though I'll probably be in my Mandalorian gear. I got to report the news, so I gotta show up to the panel. But there is the cosplay meetup happening on that same time from 2 p.m. to, I'm guessing, around 3 or so. It's by, if you guys are familiar with Javits Center, if anybody out there listening is, it's where the main stage lets out by the food court, all the stairs there. I've been doing it every year. It's a lot of fun. There's literally like probably a good 100 or so people in Star Wars cosplay. That looks really effing good cosplay. Like 501st people, Mandalorian mercs, Rebel Legion, and people like me that just put some stuff together all show up, congregate. It's a lot of fun. We pass out swag to each other and just, shoot the crap about Star Wars and whatnot. And it's a good time. That's run by these guys called the Three Mandalorians on Facebook. So again, that's happening 2 p.m. on Saturday. Too bad it's happening at the same time as the panel, but sometimes crap like that happens. So that's all the programming that's happening for Star Wars. But if you're looking for some cool stuff to pick up, I don't really know about the exclusive figures or anything like that, if there is any. I know there's a couple like variant covers from some certain booths that you can get only at New York Comic Con. But as far as the Del Rey booth, they are selling an exclusive edition of the Mace Windu, the Glass Abyss novel. But not only that, is they are giving away at the Del Rey booth an advanced copy for the new upcoming trilogy of books that's not coming out till February. The Reign of Fear, the Reign of the Empire, the Mask of Fear. I think I got it. So the first book of this trilogy they're giving away like 3 months early, but you have to give them. This is pretty cool because the book actually has something to do with Mon Mothma. So it's like you have to be in the know with being able to pick up this book. Like you have to go up to the person at this book stand and say, Mon Mothma request your aid, and they'll give you this book. As long as they have supplies last. So you know me, I'm gonna run my butt all the way over to the convention to get to that thing. And they have the booth is specifically booth number 3021. So there you go. If you're looking for a fun scavenger hunt to get yourself, I'm not sure if you have to pay for it or if it's free. I don't know what the heck it is, but just get there because you'll be able to get a book like 3 or 4 months early. So that's cool. They haven't really done anything like that before. So
Yeah, that is really neat. Hey, there you go. You could get a early book to review.
that's right. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I'll have 2 books to read. So I'm going to be really busy the next couple weeks coming back from Comic-Con. But yeah, it's everything that's happening there. And as always, I'll be there all 4 days. So if you guys see me, 2 of the days you might not see me because I'll literally be in costume. So you won't know who I am unless you see my buddy Matthew. The taller guy next to him will be me. So there you go. But that's going to basically do it for Comic-Con. Looking forward to it. Unfortunately, the Mos Eisley event that they had last year, which we all enjoyed, is not returning this year. I think one of the leaders of that is actually on tour. He's part of a band called Bayside. I think that's the reason why they're not having it this year, because he's literally not going to be around to throw the thing. But there's other things going on around the convention. There's a lot of good stuff at the convention this year. They have James Gunn. Ben is going to be there. James Gunn is
nice.
literally going to be in person there, showing off the
Hopefully,
first new DC thing with the Creature Commandos cartoon.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that'll be something to look forward to hear what he has to say about that. And who knows, he might drop other little nuggets about upcoming stuff.
Yeah, we're going to get...
Superman's done.
Yeah, we're going to get the Penguin. The Penguin, they're going to show an advanced episode. They're going to have the actor that plays the Penguin, Colin Farrell, is going to be there. Like, the whole cast is going to be there. So that'll be cool. I don't know if they're going to say, like, ooh, are we going to get a season 2 confirmation there or something? Because, I mean, there's nothing but good things people are saying about that show. I'm sure it's getting good ratings. House of the Dragon is going to be there with Matt Smith and company. It's big because like last year it was not the greatest because we were in the midst of a strike, so the studios weren't really bringing anything, because if they did, the actors literally couldn't talk about what they were working on. And then the year before that, it was like COVID fallout still, so it was kind of still not up to par. So this looks like it's going to be a pretty killer year. By the way, I sent you guys a message. So before we went live, they are going to live stream like several of their big panels on YouTube and stuff. So the main stage and Empire stage.
That's exciting, actually.
Yeah, I do kind of miss that with the, like, I remember Comic-Con, or even like Comic-Con or like Star Wars Celebration. I love how they stream that, because not everyone can afford to go to something like that.
Exactly.
Not everyone has access to do something like that. So I think for them to grow their product, to get more eyes on it, do it. I mean, that's dope. I remember staying up like on a Thursday night late watching San Diego Comic Con for Hall H, or for the Marvel panels or DC panels. Like that's dope. So imagine if we get a dope surprise and they have it streamed. Like, I'll be able to watch it.
Heck yeah. So there you go. Keep your eyes peeled. I mean, this is Eastern time, Eastern Coast time. So just, people on the West Coast know you'll have to be watching this stuff in the middle of the afternoon, and people in England, you're going to be watching this stuff in the middle of the night, basically. So there you go. That's my preview of New York Comic Con. Say hello if you find me. But other than that, a really good show tonight, talking about games, talking about conventions, talking about Star Wars art, and everything in between. So it was a lot of fun. Where can people find you, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, everybody can find me talking Star Wars or the NFL or fitness at Real Ben Maynard on X or Instagram. And you'll also, of course, see me posting about we need to get that Kenobi game out there. Hey, everybody's about like make Solo 2 happen, release the Snyder cut, release the whatever cut. We need to like hashtag make Kenobi happen. Make Kenobi game happen.
There we go. Yes, give us that. And Milton.
The people can find me on Twitter at MiltonWeber7 or Instagram at Milton7Weber. Appreciate you guys listening and watching like always. Hope you enjoy Comic-Con this upcoming week. I'm sure it's going to be popping. Make sure if you see Chris, hit him up, subscribe to the podcast, that type of thing. Get some pictures. Like, just, hopefully you have a good time, man.
Oh yeah, always do. Have my co-hosts over on Tractor Beam, me and Matthew are gonna do our best to cover stuff. I have a couple other buddies that are gonna be going along as well, so we got a little posse kind of thing going. People coming and going as we go to different panels and just have fun. But yeah, there you go. Just a quick news update on the channel. So as far as this show, we won't be seeing you guys until early November, unless like some crazy like trailer reveal happens where something absolutely bizarre happens where we have to get on here on like a weeknight, because obviously I won't be here next weekend, and then the weekend after that is like the last weekend I think before Halloween. So I'm gonna try to go to one of those Fright Night things at Six Flags on that Sunday. So I will not be here the next 2 weekends, which means we're just going to go on a little bit of a break, but we'll see you guys here most likely in 3 weeks' time. We'll have a new episode, and by then I think the John Williams documentary thing should be out. So at the very least, we might be able to give our first impressions if any of us have started watching it or have watched it by that point. So that's what's coming down the pipe, and then we'll be in the last stretch before Skeleton Crew in November time when we're back. So it'll be a good countdown, and then, well into the new year, we'll be talking on a weekly basis about something new with Star Wars. But yeah, as always, stay locked on my social media, which is Starrapter on Twitter or X, and as well as just subscribe to this channel, because that's when you'll see the notification that this thing is going to go live. So that's all I ask from you guys. But for Milton, for Ben, for Chris, aka Starrapter, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always. End transmission.